It's a match filled with history, pressure, and two teams trying to rediscover exactly who they are at their best. It's two second place teams in their respective leagues and a rivalry that's seen some iconic moments on the path to glory. Both teams have high ceilings and bigger questions. Welcome to episode 752 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Dan Hilton, and if you're feeling the excitement or even feeling the nerves, make sure you give a like and hit that subscription button on YouTube. And remember that I will be on BigUp.com for the match, so grab your snacks, join the free community, and let's enjoy a gigantic European night. All right, now that we've set the table, it's time to go into another preview. Let's dive in. Let's start with our big storylines. Barcelona simply do not want to roll the dice with Pedri's fitness. And 3 days ago, I would have been petrified by the prospect of Chelsea without Pedri, but maybe that match with that better club may have taught us something. Frank de Jong is back, so Flick does have some decisions to make that we'll get into in a bit. For Chelsea, they're going to be without their highlight machine in Cole Palmer. He's been out for a few weeks already with a different ailment, but he'll be missing this one through a toe issue. And Chelsea, I think, have already learned, though, how to figure some things out without him. Romeo Lavia is also out, so Chelsea are without one of their better ball winners, albeit not a regular starter. So as far as big misses that Chelsea has, it is really just Cole Palmer. For both teams, the central idea coming in has been their inconsistency this season. For Chelsea, there was a 2-2 draw in the Champions League against Qarabağ a few weeks ago, plus the 3 unanswered goals against Brighton in a 3-1 loss at the end of September. For Barcelona, it was the 4-1 loss to Sevilla, plus that 3-3 recent draw with Club Brugge was absolutely unhinged in terms of the action and what went right and what went wrong. For both teams, it has been a theme of one brilliant match followed by a chaotic performance, 2 brilliant matches, then 2 chaotic performances, and back and forth like that. These are 2 very, very talented teams on paper, and this result might be decided by which team is less volatile. Today we're doing lineup predictions before the tactical breakdown. This is one of those cases again where the lineups I choose kind of dictate the tactics that each manager is going to choose. And I usually start with Barcelona, but for this one, I'm actually going to begin with Chelsea, because after doing their preview, I feel like I actually have a better grasp on the 11 that Enzo Maresca might go with more than Hansi Flick. I expect a 4-2-3-1 with the striker up top being Liam Delap, Alejandro Garnacho, João Pedro, and Pedro Neto from left to right. As at 3 behind Delap, Enzo Fernandez and Moises Caicedo should be the double pivot, and then Marc Cucurella, Trevor Chalobah, Wesley Fofana, and Reece James, with some variations there at the back line, and then Robert Sanchez, of course, will be in net. If Chelsea do use all 5 of their subs, I'm going to give you 6 names that I think will likely take those 5 spots, and that's Estêvão, Jamie Gittins, Malo Gusto, Tosin Adarabioyo, Joao Hato, and Josh Achampong. I wouldn't expect to see Marc Cu in this game, but that would be a narrative and a subplot that could be pretty interesting for Culés, as after being on the bench for a little bit and Culé saying he made his money, he's starting to get some minutes this season. But again, I don't expect to see him for this one, but yeah, that would be quite the story. Now for Barcelona, the lineup that Hansi Flick chooses, I think, says a lot about what he took away from that Athletic Club match. Or maybe this is just going to come down to Rafinha or Rashford's fitness coming in. For me, the biggest takeaway against Athletic Club is that Joan Garcia is back healthy and Barcelona just look better with him in net. So we're going to pencil him in permanent marker as a starter. And maybe like the second half of the Celta de Vigo match and Athletic Club, Hansi Flick might stick with the 4-3-3. Or he also might go back to the 4-2-3-1. But it's really semantics when we are talking about tactics because the formation does change based on the phases of the game. So we're going to call it a 4-3-3 for this one and talk a little bit more about the permutations in the tactics section. We saw Lewandowski get subbed off against Athletic Club, so I think he gets to start. We have no clue about fitness, as I said, for Rafinha, for Rashford, so it could be either of them or Ferran Torres on the left. I'm putting Rafinha here, but again, we have no clue, so this is really the one spot that it could be anybody. Lamine Yamal, duh. Fermin and Olmo are in theory my interiors, with De Jong shielding the back line. The back 4 is Balde if healthy, Eric, Kubarsi, and hopefully a resurgent Koundé. Joan Garcia, again in net, duh. Now for everybody's favorite part in the tactical breakdown, when we talk about Chelsea's tactics, we actually have to begin with the former former La Masia man in Marc Cucurella. I know it's crazy to say that it's the left back, but the left back for Chelsea is the key man. He has a bit more of a free role under Maresca, but it's actually not that free. It's more of a free roaming role than it is a free role. In build-up, he'll invert infield as an additional midfielder next to Caicedo, with the other midfielders pushing up into a line of 4 under Delap. Chelsea want to use Cucurella to create a box midfield. That is the goal, and the only time that it's really been stifled this season is with some man marking and a creation of a mirrored box midfield. But Barca may not want to do this. It will require Barca players to follow those midfielders, and Chelsea are really good at those third man runs, and Barcelona don't necessarily have the most adept man-marking, follow-your-run kind of guys. That's just not who De Jong is. And all that movement, all that fluidity, that is Chelsea's calling card when they're being successful. They also have a number of different options who can play in those different spots, so the profiles might change even if the ideas stay the same, which does mean that the game, when subs come in, can drastically change against Chelsea, so you've got to play the full 90 minutes. Malo Gusto at right back is different than Reece James. Estêvão is different than Pedro Neto on the right wing. Jamie Gittins is different than Garnacho on the left wing. And Andre Santos is different than the regular starters in the midfield. As for Barca and their tactics, the lineup that I chose does dictate some of the ideas. Fermin and Olmo are in theory my interiors, but I think they play similar roles they played over the weekend, with Fermin creating that trident of pressure up top while Olmo drops in to build with De Jong. That said, it's going to be really important that Olmo stays disciplined and close to De Jong once they break through that first line of pressure when they have the ball. De Jong, like Eric Garcia against Athletic Club, will likely be the man receiving from Joan Garcia, and that first pass from De Jong to Olmo will need to happen to alleviate the pressure, and then Olmo or De Jong, again, whoever is going to be able to drive through that midfield pressure, they're going to have to be able to create some space to get it to that forward line. If there is a break between the lines for Barcelona and Chelsea is able to pop up and win the ball in those 50-50s, Barcelona are going to be in a world of hurt. Offensively, Barcelona are going to need to be patient and disciplined in their rest defense. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but yes, rest defense is what you're set up when you have the ball. Chelsea is not always stable under pressure, and Sanchez can be inconsistent with his short distribution, so the press needs to be working. Caicedo also can find himself in trouble while facing his own goal. He has improved upon this, and once he turns, it can be trouble. But when receiving while facing his own goal, that can be the one time when Barcelona should be able to find some pressure. And up top for Chelsea, Delap has not been a goal threat just yet, but his hold-up play and physicality does create danger in other ways. Chelsea are so dangerous, and I mean really dangerous, on both wings with their movement. You never know where that run is going to come from, as I already spoke about with Cucurella. It could be the wingers, it could be the fullbacks, and that fluidity will again require a lot of discipline from Barca. And those late runners from the midfield, Enzo Fernandez as a late arriver into the box, is another thing that Barca are going to have to look out for. It goes without saying, but this match very well just could be dictated by how good Barca's press is and how well they get Chelsea under pressure. If that press isn't working, well then the offside trap and the high line, they are not going to work either. Joan Garcia improves it just by existing back there, but Chelsea can be really dangerous if Barca don't keep things narrow and don't stay disciplined. For our X factors, I'm going to give you 3 for either team, starting with Barca and an easy one in Lamine Yamal. He's the biggest X factor, I think, for either team in this contest. For all the money that Chelsea has spent on some of the top young players in world football, Lamine Yamal is the biggest talent on the field. I talked a lot about Cucurella when Chelsea has the ball, but he also has to worry about Lamine Yamal. And if he does go too far forward and no one covers for him, Lamine Yamal, he doesn't need even a 1v1 situation. He's dangerous. He needs a 2v1 situation. So positioning for Chelsea on their left side is going to be important, or Lamine Yamal is going to cause some havoc. My second X factor for Barcelona is Fermin Lopez. He was so good against Athletic Club and has been in really good form over the last month and a half, despite some of Barca's chaotic showings. He has a way of popping up in big moments, and his work on the press will go a long way in setting the tone of this match from the top all the way to the back line. My third X factor of Barcelona, it's an easy one too. It's Joan Garcia. Barcelona, it's Champions League night, European stuff. They're going to need their keeper. Chelsea's biggest X factor to me is a guy I didn't actually mention in the tactical breakdown, and that is João Pedro. He is the creative driving force for Chelsea without Cole Palmer. He leads the team with 7 goal contributions from 4 goals and 3 assists, which doesn't seem like a lot when compared to Barcelona's outputs, but his gravity in the middle can take a lot of attention off the others. Second X factor, of course, is Cucurella for all the reasons I laid out in the tactics. Barcelona has to punish Chelsea when he goes for a walkabout if other teammates don't cover for him quick enough. I'll repeat it many, many times before. It's the key to the match. And lastly, I'm going to say Estêvão here. He's my third X factor for Chelsea, despite probably not starting this one. I really do like what he does, and it doesn't have to be Lamine Yamal or Estêvão. Pick your camp. No, I think Lamine Yamal is the better player, obviously. But if for some reason Lamine Yamal didn't exist, I would have thought that Barcelona would have definitely missed out on him. Estêvão would have been my second choice for that spot. Chelsea likes to keep that tempo up for 90 minutes, and he could be a game-changing sub. As I mentioned, the game states of this game will change for Chelsea when their subs come on in a way that Barcelona subs don't really do. I do want to talk a little bit about the history of this rivalry. It's very much a 21st century rivalry, and they actually haven't met in the last 7 years, but the times they have met, it has been a heck of a battle with a ton of iconic moments. Yes, the reason they haven't met in 7 years is because Chelsea have been away from the Champions League for the last 3 seasons, but again, when they are meeting in the Champions League, it's always fun. It's 4 wins for Chelsea, 4 wins for Barcelona, and 8 draws. But when we think of this tie, it is all about the 2009 semifinal with Iniesta's memorable last-second goal at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea returned the favor in the 2012 semifinal when Fernando Torres scored to send them through to the final. So often when these two teams meet in the knockouts, it leads to one of them just a few weeks later holding that Champions League trophy. And for you younger fans, how iconic was that Iniesta goal? I do think it's one of the defining goals, at least in the 21st century history of FC Barcelona. And because they've done so much of the European winning in the 21st century, yeah, it's one of the biggest goals in club history. That game was riddled with controversy. The calls, the no calls, both fan bases still crying that the referee had them be the team that was hard done by. But I don't want to let all of that stuff overshadow just how special this goal was. It wound up being a 1-1 draw, and Barcelona sneaked through on away goals, but that goal is so etched in my memory that yes, I do have a commemorative poster of it in my gallery wall behind me at my desk. And let's finish up with our score prediction. I talked a lot about chaos today, and my score prediction is going to reflect that. That's why I'm going 2-2. I think both teams are going to struggle to keep a clean sheet, and I think both teams have enough talent and offensive resources to score some goals. And I'm going to even go one further with my prediction and say that one of those goals, that being the fourth goal of whoever scores it, is going to come in a late game situation and add more drama to this tie. And with that score prediction, that'll do it for the Barcelona versus Chelsea preview. As I said, there are a lot of decisions I think that Hansi Flick has to make, where Enzo Maresca's team at this point, yes, the personnel can change, but the way he does play does kind of pick itself. There's even more I could have got into, but I do think the big picture is that this is another big test for Hansi Flick's Barcelona. Is this the team they've been in the second half of Celta and the Athletic Club match despite missing personnel? Or are they that team that has that shaky pressure and thereby the shaky offside trap and high line? And of course, pundits are going to have their way with Barcelona on a European night. Those are all the questions I have, but if for those full 90 minutes you're in it for the tactical nuance or the young, excited, talented players, there will definitely be something in this tie for you. I again remind you, please join me on Big Up for the watch along. We're going to have some fun over there. And if you enjoyed the preview, please drop a like so more Kool-Aids find the video or the podcast, and subscribe to the channel or the show, of course. And we'll have the 5 headlines shortly after the match, so that's a good reason why you subscribe to the YouTube channel or on the podcast apps. Or if you want these shows without the ads, well, that's Patreon. Also helps me continue to make shows like this. So this is a big European night. I'm excited for it. I hope you are too. Let me know your prediction down in the comments or hit me up on social media. And as always, until next time, Forza Barca.